Hello and welcome to Rolling Out Star Studio. I am your host, Portia Monique, and today we have an incredible guest by the name of Angel Kristi Williams, who made her directorial debut in the Netflix film Really Love. Welcome to the show, Angel.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Portia. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you as well because I want to dive right into the film. But before we go there, I'd like to go back and kind of get your background and how you started out in writing. So, where did the love of writing and directing come from?
That's a great question. I mean, my father brought home a VHS camera when I was really young, around 8 years old, and I taught myself how to use it. And so my, journey as a storyteller began with just making home videos of my family, of my friends, and just really gained an interest of, creating images of us and studied photography. And I wrote my first screenplay in college. And that's when I kind of got the directing bug. I was like, wow, not only can I, create the composition of this image, but I can also be the agent of the story. And I really wanted to, create more stories about people who look like me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to talk about this film. Like I have some preliminary questions, but I know we're going to run out of time. So let's jump right into the film. Really Love. How did it come about? What was the origins?
So Felicia Pride, my co-creating collaborator, is also from Baltimore, Maryland, and she and I were introduced by a mutual friend. And we just started chatting casually, was excited to meet another sister in LA who's from Baltimore. And she told me that she had written her first screenplay and that she was looking for a director to attach to it. And the way she described it was just so magical. She described it as a Love Jones meets Blue Valentine set in DC. And I said, can I please read it? So she sent me the script. I read it immediately. We had dinner and she said, I watched your shorts. I want you to direct this film. And so that began the journey. She and I were working full-time jobs. We developed the screenplay for an additional 2 years. And then we pitched it to Macro and they loved it. And Charles King and the whole team there, they were like, we believe in this. We support it. We want to fully finance it. So it's kind of like a really, really Hollywood story. They were the only company that we pitched it to, but
wow.
They got it. They got the story. They connected with it. Charles went to Howard. Howard has a big presence in the film, but they just were like, we want in. How can we be a part? And so we made the film a year later.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those films that draws you in from the beginning. Like, so for me, sometimes when I work, I watch TV, right? I'll just have it on. I couldn't do any of that. I just kind of pushed it to the side and was totally honed into the screen because it was a beautiful story and it was original, right? Because we haven't seen anything like that before on screen. Let's talk about casting. So how did that go? How did it work?
Yeah, so my casting director is Kim Taylor Coleman. She's also an EP on the film, but immediately once I sat down with her, she had read the script. I talked to her about the vision for the film, and she got it. She was excited, both about putting Black actors in these roles, like in multiple roles in the same film. I mean, we were just so excited, and the screenplay started going out, and actors responded to it so positively. So I got to meet so many Black actors. I mean, actors who have been on my wish list. So we cast Kofi first. I met him in LA, and we'd never met. He was shooting Queen Sugar, and we had dinner and ended up sitting in the restaurant for 5 hours. And I was like, I mean, we just connected about love and art and music, and he just really connected to the story.
That's
So
great
once
to
we,
hear. Hmm.
yeah,
But you
and
saw
once,
it come out on film too, though, right? It came through
yes,
screen. Hmm.
yeah, I mean, he was just so passionate, and he talks about that a lot, that he felt so connected to Isaiah's journey at that time in his life when we were making the film. So it really resonated for him. And then once Kofi signed on, then the journey began to find Stevie. And my casting director sent me Yuta's tape, and I was like, who is she? I want to meet her. And when she came into the room, they threw each other off balance. The chemistry was just so real. I mean, I turned back and I looked at my producers, and everybody was just like, they had stars in their eyes. And I knew in that moment, before we had even offered her the role, I was like, that's Isaiah and Stevie.
They both did an incredible job. And they both evoked so much emotion, right? I felt Stevie, and the film is out, so it's not going to be a spoiler, but I felt her when, she was faced with that tough decision that she had to make, either go to the law firm or stay and work it out. And when he didn't fight for her, I was like, listen. Talk about that scene right there, because it was so many emotions. I cried, I laughed, I was angry, So talk about that scene right there, and how that was with directing that piece of it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes in the film. Thank you. I'm so glad that you felt it. But for me, that scene is about two people where it's very clear, right, for us as the audience, that he doesn't want her to go and she wants to stay, but neither of them are comfortable with being vulnerable enough to say that. Like, she's looking to him to say, baby, don't go. And he's listening like, well, if you're thinking about going, then that means you don't want to stay with me. And so it's kind of this moment where they're both hurting each other by not communicating what they really feel and what they want. And it just, every time I watch it gives me a lump in my throat as well, because I've had those types of conversations. And directing it, I just wanted it to feel real. I wanted it to feel like conversations that we've had in our own relationships and our own lives. And Kofi and Yuta, I think, really connected to that feeling of the miscommunication of what's in between the lines of what you don't say.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually sitting in the bed watching the movie, but I was yelling at the TV, like, say something, like, don't. And for me, the onus was on him. So that's just how I felt. Like, you should fight for this because I want to stay. And like you said, neither one of them was comfortable enough with being vulnerable. But I'm yelling at him like, you better say something. You better fight for her.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that really is her scene, and it was his moment to speak up and say, no, or say, okay, like, I support you in going to Chicago, but I'm gonna go with you. You know what I mean?
Say something. He just let her walk out. I was like, Lord Jesus. Okay. So now my favorite scene, okay, because I recorded it on my phone. I pressed rewind. I zoomed in. Let's talk about the sex scene, right? So it gave me all the feels, and it seemed so real. They made contact. So talk about directing that scene. It was iconic for me. It's gonna go down in history as one of the best sex scenes ever.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate that. Felicia talks about this a lot. It's actually really funny. We did a Q&A in LA, and she talked about, she wrote those love scenes into the film because Love Jones was a huge reference and inspiration for both of us. And she talks about how when she saw Love Jones, she was like in her dorm room, like rewinding that scene. Like, we don't get to see ourselves in that way. Like, Black lust, Black sex, Black love, Nia and Lorenz Tate, like it's just so sensual and beautiful and magical. And I always knew that I wanted to create that feeling in this film. And it was really intimidating, but again, it's a testament to Kofi and Yusuf for being willing to dive deep into the characters and the performance and be vulnerable, but also I wanted to create this really safe space, and we use music as a reference a lot, just to kind of, I approached it like a dance. Like it's a dance, like their bodies needed to dance with one another. And, you say it gave you all the feels, it gives me the feels too, because I was like, I want to embody the type of love that I want to make.
All of that. Now, you said something interesting. You said that it was intimidating. How so was it intimidating?
Well, I never directed a love scene before, a sex scene. And, there's a lot of, it's really uncomfortable sometimes. It can be very mechanical. You're asking actors to be nude. They just met. They literally just met, and we shot that love scene on day 3 of the production.
You could not tell. They were very comfortable with one another.
Well, you know what it was, and so many props to Gina Prince Bythewood, who's a mentor and a filmmaker who films, about love. I admire so much. She saw their chemistry tape, and she told me, because I was like, how do I direct these love scenes? And she said, your actors have real chemistry. She said, you need to shoot this love scene at the beginning of the shoot, because you don't want them to build anxiety worrying about these love scenes. The chemistry is real. Get it out of the way so that they can really kind of fall into their characters and the performance. And it was the best advice anyone gave me about it.
That's amazing to hear, and it definitely shows on camera with them being, comfortable, like not having the anxiety about the scene. Because when I say they made real contact, and I got the chills, and I was like, hold on. Wait a minute. So that was some great advice that she gave you. Let's talk about that though. When it comes to directing, what type of advice would you give to young and up and coming directors so that they can find their way with directing films as well?
The biggest lesson for me, and I'm always, learning and growing and getting better as a director, but is to, no matter the type of project, the scale, the size of the project, is just to approach each day at a time, to focus on one day at a time. The scenes that are in front of you, what are the intentions for the day? What are the scenes that I'm directing today? And think about tomorrow. Because sometimes we're thinking about the whole picture, and that doesn't allow us to always be present in the moment. And, I tried to practice that when I was directing the film, and some days I did better than others, but on the days where I could just be really present in that day, in the right now, those were always my most successful days.
Now, did you experience any anxiety having a film of this magnitude? You had to have known that this film was going to do as well as it has done. But did you experience any anxiety with directing?
To be honest, the response to the film is more than I even dreamed about. I always, we felt something very magical and special when we were on the set, because the film, everyone was, it's about love. And so everyone was bringing their personal experiences to the set every day. So I knew that I was feeling something, but I didn't anticipate how other people would feel those things. And yes, I have anxiety about directing all the time. You want things to be self. You want, people to receive your work. You want to have answers to all the questions that you're being asked. But, I think, as I grow, what I'm learning is a good director also can surround herself or himself with a team that helps elevate you and lift you up so that everything that you want to do, they make it so that it's possible. And so I was really blessed to have a really great producing team and, a DP, production designer, costume designer, like everyone on every level from the top to the bottom. So,
yeah. So let's stay there for a second because you said you had a good team, right? But in terms of directing, what are the ingredients that make up a good, great, excellent director?
Have a clear vision. I am a very visual director, so I like to talk with everybody about how I want things to look and feel. Music is also a really big part of my process. I share, I made a playlist for this movie and I shared it with everyone, even before we shot the film.
Oh, wow.
Because for me, I really wanted to share with them what I felt like embodied the mood and the tone that we were trying to create. I like to be really close to the actors, so I'm not always interested in being by the monitor, but I want to be close to them so that because sometimes you feel things that you can't see, and I like to be close to them so that I can pick up on the energy as they're spawning together in the scene, but also just a really good communicator. Just being a really good communicator with everyone. I think that for me, that's where your power is in directing, is being able to communicate to everyone, the actors, the crew, on every level.
I love that. And we are running out of time. I could talk to you all day, but I do want to give you an opportunity to share some advice with those young up and coming directors. What type of advice would you give to them while they're out there chasing their dreams?
First of all, I love working with young filmmakers. I teach a lot, particularly at Maryland Institute College of Art, and mentor in LA a lot. But, I think that, and I ask this question as well, I think young filmmakers always ask the question, how do I get on? How do I make my first feature? How do I sell my screenplay? And I always think of it like this. Someone who is a musician or a singer, they never ask, how do I get on? Because the thing to do is you make music, you write songs, and you put them out. And so for me, that's the advice that I would both give to my younger self, but also, filmmakers coming up behind me is whatever it is that you say you want to do, whether it's a screenwriter, director, or cinematographer, people are going to find you when you create that work.
People are going to find you when you create that work. That gave me chills too. So it was wonderful chatting with you. I want to also give you an opportunity to tell us about some of the other projects that you have coming up before we wrap.
Sure, yeah. So I am telling another love story right now. I directed the season opener of Cherish the Day for OWN, which is Ava DuVernay's show she created. And then I'm also still working in the TV space and have some more episodes coming. And then I directed an episode of Colin in Black and White, which is the Colin Kaepernick and Ava DuVernay series, and that premieres on Netflix October 29th.
Okay, so we're going to stay plugged into that as well. Lastly, how can we follow you and stay connected to your movement?
I am on Instagram at Angel Kristi Williams and on Twitter at Angel Kristi WMS.
We love it. Thank you so much for stopping by Rolling Out Stars.
Thank you, Queen. Yes.
We appreciate you. Keep up the great, amazing work. Keep bringing us those love stories because we need a lot of them. We need more of them. But yeah, so thank you so much. Again, I am your host, Portia Monique for Rolling Out Star Studio, and we were talking to Angel Kristi Williams. Thank you so much, Queen. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.